Thank you, everybody. Again, Rich Farr. I am the Chief Legal and Risk Officer for Baker Construction. As you know, our basic flagship company is Baker Concrete. We have about 10 other operating entities, but Baker Concrete is our flagship company. So Carrie's comment this morning to start off is we buy at an auction. Owners buy at an auction, and the traditional contractual model is pushing risk downstream. Guess where that lands? That lands at the subcontractor. So what I'm excited about this group is that my traditional world is push that risk away. So protect our risk because we seem to be the downstream risk of contracting. So what I'm personally excited about is how to collaborate more, how to develop documents that incentivize the risk sharing model instead of just risk avoidance and risk transfer, which is the traditional construction contracting model that we see is pushing risk downstream. So we've had the task reform for roughly a year, and candidly, like Chris's comments, we've struggled some because conceptually this sounds like a great idea. Risk sharing, collaboration. How do we do it? How do we do it? And recently, thanks to Carrie and Phil's help, Tom Wood from Seco Concrete is on our task force, and he's basically stepped up and assisted me in a co-chair role as we move forward. So I just want to take a minute and recognize Tom for his increased role with the task force and some of the ideas we're working towards. So how do we accomplish the alignment of risk and reward with concrete design, construction, and ownership? Some of the things we're doing right now is looking at industry partners. Traditionally, we see the MEP industry has really conceptualized and really has some success with really design assist. And how do we capture that, and what's the hurdles? The hurdle is the concrete construction is part of the permitting process, and a lot of the engineers we talk about say the concrete construction contractors have to get there early because of the permitting. So we got to figure out how to get into the process early to share those risks and rewards with design. And from a contractor's perspective, how do we assist in design and collaborate for constructability? But also, how do we sell that to ownership as well too? So we're currently out there partnering with some of the large MEP contractors for lessons learned out of their design assist approach, because that industry has had success historically with the design assist model. They have the benefit of working through clash protection, and candidly, they have also the end user with the change in fixtures and design, and that's what is kind of the visible result. So that's one of the things we're working on. So we're taking a white paper approach too. We're taking it a little different. We've kind of taken a 4-part approach to this. And really, it's kind of in no particular order, candidly, but we're looking at it in 4 approaches. First is part 1 is real-world success. We're working to identify case studies that have had positive results with collaboration amongst design, ownership, and contractors. We are looking out to examples of that early collaboration. We're reaching into the pro membership. And candidly, there's a project that Baker and Carrie's firm are currently building right now that we had some early design assists that we're going to have published a case study. We've done it internally that Carrie probably didn't know about. We did it internally to have the benefits of a parking garage on the East Coast that Carrie's firm was very active in, that we were successfully rewarded on it. And we're building that project very successfully right now. I'm knocking on wood because it's still ongoing. It doesn't come across my desk, so that usually means it's a successful project. So we're reaching out is that you got to get the attention, you got to build case studies, you got to have the real world examples of where the benefit is. So we're currently reaching out into starting with our pro membership, because we have a lot of key partners. In that pro membership, we can develop those see those case studies and those real world examples. Second is what the purpose of this group is to contractually align. The lawyer in me says we got to have a contract. But I also have to take the lawyer hat off and say it has to be a non-traditional contract. It has to be this risk transfer model that's a traditional construction contracting model in the industry right now. So we got to look at what are the right design assist agreements. How do we improve on those? Candidly, from my perspective, from Baker's perspective, traditionally design assist agreements, we enter into quite a few of them. A design assist or a pre-construction agreement. Why do we do that? Currently, why we do that is to benefit the constructability for us and candidly to land the job. At the end of the day, what contract do we sign to build the job? We sign a traditional fixed price lump sum job that is traditionally the risk transfer type of project. So it doesn't really show that collaboration that we need to have. It's still a somewhat of a siloed model as the traditional design assist agreement we're using now. We're looking at potentially like a target price model. I know we just entered into a target price model that we entered into it with a collaboration with an owner that frankly they had their traditional contractor, their primary contractor could not perform the project. It's a power plant project, an LNG, a gas turbine project, and we secured the scope for the bolts down, the civil component of it, not the balance of plant, and they were up against a deadline with the permitting, with their environmental permitting. So we entered into a target price model that did have collaboration with the owner, the design and the owner, because we have to collaborate design with the balance of plant contractor that comes after our work is completed to time it with the environmental permitting issue. And it did have a component of risk share and shared reward, shared risk and shared reward. So there's a target price model out there. We're looking at reaching into the design industry for different models for contingent engineering fee agreements, and as well as look at some of the industry, the AIA, consensus docs with their various design build agreements that we could potentially model and develop some risk sharing profiles from that. Part 3 is what are we solving? We want to move from this entrenched belief in the design, bid, build model or buying at an auction. I'm going to use that, Carrie, if you don't mind. I'd like that. Okay, thank you. Because at the end of the day, we especially we as contractors, and I'm talking from a contractor's perspective, there's a lot of hidden costs that frankly we all incur in the design, bid, build model. Design impacts because of the engineer, the designer is compressed because of their, it's a fee. They're gonna have not take risk on design, so there may be design impacts. Schedule compression, inefficient labor, because there is a misalignment of risk and reward in that traditional auction model. It's a design of pushing risk downstream. The design fees are compressed because there's no reward to be innovative. The change order potential is obviously increased because of this model as well too, and that's detrimental to all parties, not just me as a contractor, the general contractor, the owner. That model where there's an increased true cost of change orders. And that just leads to dispute potential as well too, which is it's completely counterproductive to building in our industry and certainly increase the cost of construction as well too. Part 4 is really the implementation roadmap. How do we get over the fear of overpaying? How do we sell this that the low bid, the auction model is not the best model. It's not the most cost-effective model for all parties, whether it's the owner, design, or contractor. We're looking, as our group is maturing, is looking at validation tools. How can we prove this? How can we demonstrably say this will save costs? So that is one of the big next steps we have to develop. We can talk, we can develop documents, but we have to have validation tools to sell this concept from a contractual standpoint. This is the type of agreements you need to enter in. And frankly, we're taking a hard look at the IPD model. That is the concept of IPD, Integrated Project Delivery Model, is the collaboration, is the owner, designer, contractor collaboration. I can tell you probably, even the size of Baker, probably the last 10 years we've done no more than 5 at the most 10 IPD projects. So it has to get, in my opinion, to get traction in the industry, because the more you do it, the better you have the understanding of collaborating and the benefit of it with all the trade partners, the designer, the owner, and the major trade partners building the project. So there is that incentive for the shared savings, prevent, and the shared risk, but have the incentive of the shared savings, the shared reward. So we have to look at maturing that IPD model. That's one of the big tasks we're looking at now within our group to see if that yields success within our mission. That is our group task force update.
Rich, thank you.